Alright, and we're back. Welcome back. This one is Lake of Voices. As I was saying before, I don't know any of these games. There's just 3 indie horror games that I found on Steam that I thought I'd give a little bit of a go. So this one straight away already looks a lot nicer. Let's quickly check the settings. Music volume, blah, blah, blah. Auto forward time, okay. Voice volume, text speed. So there's going to be some text and skip unseen text and after choices. Alright, so this one is a narrative game. Brilliant. And for now, I think all of those, that looks pretty good. Alright, main menu. Main menu. History? No, empty. Alright. Let's jump in and start with Lake of Voices. So this one's already looking a whole lot better. Choices. You'll need to make various decisions throughout Lake of Voices. Here are a few details to keep in mind. Certain choices are timed. Time running out isn't something to completely avoid. In some cases, not getting involved can open up new possibilities. Other choices aren't timed. These options only determined whether Kika has any special affection for another character or not. If you survive until the second night, the story will... If you survive into the second night, right? The story will branch off into one of 5 different plot lines based on your earlier decisions. The other characters cannot manage all situations in the various plot. Regardless of what you do. If a character isn't making it, try getting that plot with a different set of survivors or having the same group of characters venture through some other storyline. I'm sure this will make a lot more sense once we actually start playing. Becoming closer to someone can add and or remove future choice options and change how some scenes play out. Your decision to build that connection may not go unnoticed by the other characters. Earning the full amount of affection with certain characters can require getting into specific plot lines. Alrighty then. That makes a whole bunch of sense. T key opens full text history. Page up returns to previous text or choice. Just going to quickly adjust my mic so that the arm of the pop cover is not in the way. Scratch the eye, adjust the glasses, sip the coffee, and jump in to Lake of Voices. My grip on my lantern tightens as the fog around us thickens. While the forest in this area are relatively safe compared to Sinlos, I can't help but feel my hair stand on end the further in we get. My free hand fingers the hilt of my sword, something akin to a nervous reflex.
Have you seen it before?
There's voice acting? Brilliant! That's going to save me a lot of time. There's voice acting. Bamel breaks the silence, either sensing my unease or assuaging his own. I hope it's the latter.
I've had no reason to go near this cursed lake until now. What of you?
Bamel scratches his chin casually, as though I asked what his favorite food is.
I traveled a long way around it once before. Not so pleasant. Something about it just frays your nerves. Although, even being near it is enough.
Alright, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn up the voice volume so that you guys can hear it a little easier. And we'll drop the music down. Because they went to the effort of doing voice acting, which saves me trying to do voice acting. Which if you've heard any of my voice acting in the past, will know that's a good thing. So I'm not the only one who feels it. A sense of relief hits me, but not enough to undo the buzzing of anxiety. The lake, Sinlos. Most try their best to avoid it all their lives. The hundreds who die attempting to cross its unearthly black water, dragged to death by the creatures lurking within, aren't a secret.
No wonder you were assigned this mission.
There are few who've had first-hand experience with the place. Even if from a distance, English is easy. There are a few who have had first-hand experience with this place, even from a distance. He'll probably keep being picked whenever they need someone to cross, for however long he's with us. Bamel shrugs, bringing his attention back to the dark path before us.
At least we're taking the bridge this time. It'll only take 2 days instead of double that, and the sooner this place is behind us, the better.
I'm going to bring game volume right up. Let me know in chat if the volume is all over the place or not.
It would be preferable not to risk it. But time is of the essence. We don't really have a choice.
One of our allied villagers, Hemir, is being harassed by brigadiers, a band of ruffians. We don't have many guards to send as an assist, only Bamel and myself. The least we can do is arrive before we are too late to be of any use. These kind of squabbles happen often, but have to be put down lest they turn into a blood grudge or all-out war. The last we heard, neither option was that far off.
I can also see why they chose you to come out here.
Here we go. I glance at Bamel, an eyebrow raised, a slight smile.
You're
plays
always
across
so
his lips.
calm and so serious. Nothing can get to you. You're the best choice they had.
A smile now tugs at my own lips. I would like to thank him, but that wouldn't be so calm and serious as he just described. And if that's how he sees me, I'd like to keep it that way. My lack of reaction only makes his smile grow, and he chuckles a bit before refocusing on the path. I do the same. It wouldn't be right to let my guard down in a place like this. Bamel appears to feel differently, however.
You know the town on the other side of the lake, though. It's not so similar to ours. If all goes well, perhaps we'll have enough time to enjoy the new area.
For the most part, I ignore him, nodding where applicable. Bamel is the talkative sort, and if chatting helps keeps his worries down and his sword hand ready, I have no complaints. After a time, the thick fog surrounding us begins to clear. A slick wooden dock comes into view, and with it the sounds of water gently lapping as it sides. Bamel shifts beside me, stretching his lantern arm as far as it will go. He seems tense.
Someone's already here.
A young woman stands by the dock, eyeing us waringly. Does she also intend to cross tonight? Evidently, she has the same question. As we step up next to her, it's clear she isn't simply passing by as she's waiting. The stranger nods curtly to us.
Margaret.
Apparently her name is Margaret. Normally you would start with a hello, or a who are you, or something like that. You just walk up and say
Kika
your
the
name.
Steadfast.
Kika the Steadfast.
Bamele. Hello?
Okay, apparently it's pronounced Bemele. There's a stuffy silence. Margaret turns to gaze out across the lake, expression unclear. With not too much to say, Bemele and I do the same. From here, the black surface of the lake looks disarmingly calm. Wind rushes across its surface, a sound like whispering. Though, perhaps it actually is whispering. I concentrate, trying to place the difference. Searching for breaks and rhythm. After a few seconds, I just feel foolish. It doesn't matter what the noise is, whether I hear them or not. We're not alone. The Nixie are out there. A feeling that I can't quite shake tells me they've already noticed this little group of people on their shores. It feels hostile. My stomach sinks, and I instead address Bemele.
Where is the guide?
Unless he's on the center island, or on the complete other side, your guess is as good as mine. It's dark as pitch out there.
Panic rises inside me. Panic that I try hard to quell.
We can't cross without him, and we need to get going soon.
You can't cross with him either.
The woman behind us, Margaret, cuts in with something like a snort.
What?
I know the guide will be here tonight. I have already made arrangements with him to cross.
Bemele and I share a look. This woman seems haughty and willing to put up a
I
fuss.
have his word he'll take me today. It would be wiser for the two of you to begin the trip around if you're really in such a hurry. Or you can make camp here and wait for him to make the trip back if you prefer.
What? Can't we all fit in the boat? Guessing it's a boat. I don't need to turn my attention to Bemele to know that he's getting riled up. I step in before he can say something rash.
Even if that is so, my companion and I must begin the trip tonight.
Margaret is unimpressed and opens her mouth to argue
We'll
further.
wait for the guide to arrive before coming to a conclusion about any of this.
Good plan. She clamps her mouth shut, then lets out a sigh.
You can do as you like.
The voice acting in this game is actually pretty good. Considering this game was free on Steam, the art, the music, and the voice acting is already really impressive. I quite like it. I am happy. Happy Malachi is happy. With that matter tentatively settled, Bemele moves away. His finger begins to tap loudly against the top of his hilt. He shifts from one foot to another and then groans.
What's that bastard even up to?
I almost visibly start, but manage to restrain myself. He probably doesn't know any better. I'm sure of that. It's not worth mentioning.
With a mouth like that, you shouldn't even have the right to ask the guide to take you across.
How ludicrous. He's faced far worse than a bit of foul language.
Do you know anything that's happened with this lake?
I know enough.
I do not like Margaret. Margaret is clearly not convinced, but she shrugs and makes a show of turning her back to him.
The guide's father is Garvin the Exemplar. Garvin never accepted the guide as his son, all the way up until he died in this lake. Your statement could be seen as tasteless.
Ah, that's why the bastard statement.
Oh.
Alright, I get you. Oh. Bemele rubs the back of his neck, his face regretful.
My apologies to the guide. I didn't mean it that way. I never knew about his... well, that.
A smile spreads across my face, one I quickly wipe away. He really did just misspeak. The silence slowly stretches between the three of us, growing more awkward with each passing second. Margaret seems irritated, and Bemele abashed. I get a choice. You're quite informed, Margaret. I'm sure you are forgiven, Bemele, or say nothing. I'm sure you are forgiven.
I know you. You are brash but not intentionally cruel. I'm sure all is well.
Bemele smiles and claps me on the back.
You're a good woman, Kika. Smart, too. You've never been here, yet you knew more of the guy than I did.
That's because I did my
I
research.
know about Garvin, truthfully. Tales of his deeds were some of the only stories my parents ever told.
Is that so? You could tell me more about it sometime.
I pause, unsure how to respond to this type of request.
I would like that very much.
Yes, I wouldn't mind that. It must wait until after this trip, though.
Of course. We should drop this topic sooner rather than later, in any case.
I agree.
Even if there's no harm meant, hearing someone mention Garvin is probably difficult for the guide, no matter what the circumstance. With the topic dropped, we each remain locked inside our own thoughts, not another word passing between us. Eventually, a small light appears on the bridge ahead, gently swaying through the foggy air. It gets closer and closer until it becomes apparent it's a figure carrying a lantern. That must be the guide, although I can't shake the ghostly aura it gives off. The figure steps onto the shore, but we wait for him to approach us instead of going to meet him. None of us are sure how close to the waters we can get before it's no longer safe. Ooh, you're pretty. He stops in front of us and simply stares.
Are you the guide of Sinlos?
The man nods. He has a sharp face and weary
Well,
eyes.
that's grand. We would like an escort across the lake.
Bemele motions to the two of us, and Margaret approaches, a strained smile on her face. I am turning the screen brightness back down so that I don't fry my retinas. There we go. Because after glitch, I had to turn it up quite a lot.
Hello, it's good to see you again. I'm ready to cross, as we've agreed upon.
The guide turns to face her as well. The guide turns to face her as well, face remaining unchanged. It must not be a lie. He would have had to say something otherwise. She really does have preference to travel with him. That's going to be a problem.
Is there a way we can all begin the trip tonight?
Yes, I will allow all 3 of you to go. But with that many, at least one will die before we reach the other side.
Margaret. We want Margaret to die before we reach the other side. I furrow my brow. It's a disturbing addendum, and one offered with little emotion attached. Bemele glares back, asking without asking what we're supposed to do with such circumstances.
You should go around.
The sentence hangs in the air, the second half unspoken. If you want to live.
We don't have time for that! There are people counting on us for protection. Why does she need to go?
He jerks a finger at Margaret, whose face contorts with anger.
I don't need to explain myself to you. My journey has already been put off once, and I was promised I could go today.
She meets Bemele's eyes with a gaze of steel. He starts to speak, but she cuts in.
An extra day or two shouldn't be that much of a problem for you. Whoever you're meeting can surely wait such a tiny amount longer. Patience is a virtue, after all.
The night is only so long, and if we're still on the bridges when the sun comes up, we'll all die as they sink back below the surface. If you don't decide soon, no one will be going.
The guide is dispassionate, stoic. I would almost feel something's wrong with him if I didn't share the trait myself. Buttons, 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 pushing buttons, pushing buttons. Oop. I pushed the wrong button. There we go, return. Bemele pulls me aside, his jaw clenched tight.
That woman isn't armed.
Oof. Are you implying that we could simply cut her up? His voice is low. He darts a glance
We
at
can
Margaret.
easily get her to back off if we make this into an actual fight. After all, we have to go tonight, yes? If one of us really is to die, it'll be her. Would staying be a worse fate than her death?
I stare at the dock, refusing to meet Bemele's eye, and try to keep my voice as level
We
as
don't
possible.
know her situation. This isn't a decision we can make for her.
What?
Bemele leans in closer, apparently having missed what I said. I remove the sympathy for her in my response when we speak again.
The guide won't accept something like that, I assume.
His face is grim.
Then what else do you have in mind?
First of all, you and I cannot split up. Either we both stay, or we both go.
Right. That's not a question.
I cross my arms, a hand on my chin. I have full confidence in my abilities, and in Bemele's. But there's no reason not to believe the guide knows exactly what he's talking about. If we go, he might not be able to give the group the attention we each deserve. That would mean we truly would be putting Margaret's life at risk on top of our own. I believe we should go say nothing. It's a timed one. Screw it, let's go all
And
in.
I believe you.
Bemele's reply is firm. My steadfastness seems almost weak in comparison to its certainty. He addresses the guide.
We shouldn't waste more time. Let's shove off.
Shove off. The guide slowly turns around, without even a nod to show his agreement. Margaret stares at Bemele and me, something of a resolve in her gaze. Then she follows after the guide. At least she didn't insist we stay behind.
We should do what we can to protect her. It's our fault she's being put in even further danger.
Exactly my thoughts. We will take care of everything. Maybe I'm being naive, but I have no intentions of letting anyone fall victim to this lake tonight. Those monsters can starve.
They can starve. I smile at him for a change, and Bemele eagerly smiles
We're
back.
lucky to have each other in this, I think.
So is I'm guessing I'm the woman. Kika. Is Kika and Bemele, are they both knights? Are they working partners? Are they together? What do you reckon? I think they're work partners but have some serious attachment. He turns to follow the others across. I will protect everyone on this trip. I will. We will make it through this. Then I step onto the dock and join him. Achievement unlocked. Begin. As soon as I step onto the wood, the temperature drops. The light of my lamp shines against the water surface as reflective as a mirror. Until we reach land again, death is only one small mistake away. We fall into line. With the guide leading the way, Margaret stays close to him, and I behind her, watching to make sure she doesn't slip on the slick wet wood. Bemele brings up the rear. Each of us hold our lanterns in front of us, but it does little good. The fog is thick and nigh impenetrable, consuming the light as if hungry for it. Above the surface of the lake, it's deathly quiet. No longer is there a whispering wind or the sound of water lapping against the shore. It's just our own mismatched footsteps and the sound of my quickened breath. My eyes drift back to the lake, against my better judgment. It's no wonder there's not even the sound of water. With how still the surface is, it seems almost sturdy, with the sheen of a black marble floor. I've heard rumors the waters of Sinlos is heavier, more difficult to disturb than natural water. That just the weight of its impressive cling is enough to keep someone down, even without them. Something even darker than the abyss of the lake flickers just below the surface, or at least I think it does. I turn my gaze to Margaret's back. It's better to stay focused.
Fall back a bit. You're following me too closely.
Okay. The guide is looking over his shoulder, addressing Margaret.
I'm sorry.
If someone gets pulled into the lake, they'll instinctively reach for anything to hold on to. Do not let that be you.
Okay, that's a good point. I was trying to go, like, why do you want us to back off? Like, you want us to get picked off at the back? But no, that does make sense. If we go to get pulled into the water, we're going to grab anything in front of us. Margaret's shoulders rise and she nods with great seriousness.
I understand. Thank you for the advice.
Thank you for calling me sir. He ignores her gratitude.
You can speak amongst yourselves if you so choose, as long as you pay attention to where you're going. There is no worth in listening to the sounds out there. If there's anything at all, it'll only be Nixie trying to set you on edge.
All right. Then, could you tell us your name? You didn't have a chance to properly introduce yourself, and I've only heard you being referred to as the guide.
I don't have a name.
Right. He faces the front again. His voice is expressionless as before. I have no way of guessing how he feels as he says this. It's probably not something he wishes to talk about. However, there was something else I wanted to say, so changing the subject's not exactly difficult.
Margaret, thank you for allowing us to join you.
She didn't really allow us, did she? We just kind of said we were coming. Margaret shrugs non-committally.
It wasn't exactly up to me. The guide said he would take you.
That is true. She hesitates, and then she looks tentatively over her shoulder at me.
But thank you for saying that. It's appreciated.
Appreciate ya.
Bemele and I will do our best to be an asset on this trip, rather than a burden.
That's nice. I'm not afraid to be out here, though. Still, at least with your training, you should be able to take care of yourselves.
I do my best. It's comforting to know that everyone here is so confident in their abilities. Not enough to forget how terrible it feels to be over this lake. I'm not sure if that is fortunate or unfortunate. Believing yourself to be secure doesn't exactly mean that you are. Oh, there's a whisper. In my ears. As the conversation lulls, a new sound breaks through. It's the whispering noise again. It's the chatter of inhuman voices, and this time it's coming from all around us.
Taking care of yourself is exactly what you need to do.
The guide is speaking again, except louder, as if to cover the Nixie's voices with his own.
Work to survive at all costs, and hope that everyone around you has enough sense to do the same. That's the only way you'll make it to the other side.
Margaret nods in response, but I hear a grunt from behind me.
Groups tend to go further when they work together to achieve the same goal.
The guide doesn't say anything in response to Bemelay's grumbling either. I'm not sure whether he didn't hear Bemelay, or whether he just didn't feel the statements made thus far are worthy of addressing. I have a feeling it's the latter. We go around a large bend in the bridge, part of it forking off another way. I wonder how the guide knows which of these essentially identical paths is correct, when something in the corner of my eye catches my attention.
I believe I saw something over there.
Keep walking. No need to worry.
The guide's voice is calm and level. I decide against pressing the issue, not wanting to set everyone even more on edge.
What did he say?
Perhaps not wanting the conversation to be caught by the guide, he speaks softly, though I couldn't quite hear him because of it. Oh, hello. There is a dude behind you. I take my eyes off Margaret ahead for a moment to explain it to Bemelay, and stop dead in my tracks. Only one word is able to escape me in my stunned state.
Behind
Bemelay stands another figure, looming in the darkness. Seeing my face, Bemelay grabs the hilt of his sword, he whips around, then staggers swiftly backwards. Several meters away, a crooked, twisted black figure hobbles its way towards us. Some kind of liquid drips from its head, curling around the edges of its face. It almost looks like it's crying. Bemelay backs up until he's standing beside me. The figure continues its slow advance, head jerking from one angle to another.
What on earth?
It's one of them.
Yes, Nixie that stumble across the bridges looking for opportunities.
The guide standing next to us. I didn't even notice him approach.
The ones that can make it out of the water are generally referred to as prowlers.
I had no idea things like that were out here. Is that what Kika saw down the other path?
The guide says nothing. Instead, returning to the front of the party, Margaret watches him pass. Her frustration morphs into nervous optimism when something seems to come into her mind.
Well, Nixie aren't slowed down much by swords, but at least the light keeps them away, right?
Margaret's hand grips her face tight, and desperation bleeds into her voice. I bite the inside of my lip.
Direct light will force it to return to the lake. However, it'll try to drag the light, or you, down with it before it goes.
That's not good. Instinctively, I reach for the hilt of my sword, despite the fact that it would do little to protect me. The prowler is getting closer, jerking forward, stopping, then resuming its slow advance.
Okay, does anyone have a light we can leave here? That way it won't follow us.
Only matches.
Bemelay spits. He's the one bringing up the rear, so he's the one most likely to be in danger if it keeps following. The guide, however, moves forward.
Don't forget it's there, don't let your guard down, and don't get left behind.
What? How am I supposed to keep walking with this thing at my heels? You said it wants to attack.
It also walks very slowly.
Don't give it the chance.
Yeah. Bemelay sputters in anger, and the guide summarily ignores him. I solidly grab hold of Bemelay's
Here.
upper arm.
I'll lead you like this, and you can keep your focus solely on the prowler. Make sure it doesn't get too close.
Bemelay eyes the guide with unresolved hostility, but allows himself to softly sigh in relief. He gazes at me with fondness.
At least there's someone I can count on.
Despite the fact I'm going against his advice, the guide says nothing more. It's clear now that he doesn't give a damn what we end up doing. Some part of me is glad for that. I want to help everyone make it through, and it'd be worse to have to persuade the guide every time help was
Kika.
necessary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bemelay places a gentle hand on my shoulder. Place a hand over his, nod seriously. Place a hand over his. I feel Bemelay start as I reciprocate his touch, but just as quickly a smile replaces his shock. The moment is pleasant, a small balm against a large burn. I harden my expression, and Bemelay follows suit. He moves his free arm down. I fully link his arm with mine, and now properly settled, look forward. Margaret is following the guide with some reluctance, turning back every so often to check on us. I wave my lantern to signal that we're catching up. Margaret returns her head to the front and quickens her pace. With a tug on Bemelay, we start to follow them. The four of us continue cautiously over the bridges, only this time the wet, squishing footsteps of the prowler join the sound of our own. In spite of myself, I grip Bemele a little tighter. The prowler walks with a set pattern, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. It takes long steps then short ones. At times it stops walking entirely. Does it hurt to be out of the water like this? Or is it trying to be difficult to read? Suddenly, the whispering in the lake grows louder. I still myself, trying not to let it get to me. The most important thing in a situation like this is to remain calm. I can't lose my head. Then, all at once, I notice the guide and Margaret have come to a halt.
Bemele, they're stopping.
Bemele slows down as I do, and as we near Margaret's back, she says something with akin to distress.
There's another one.
I tug on Bemele and he understands. We draw up close to Margaret, ready to protect her if need be, but the guide holds out a hand.
Don't get any closer.
Just over his shoulder, I see another prowler stumbling towards us, white liquid dripping from its eyes. The guide's hand turns over in the air.
Give me a
palm up.
lantern. We'll throw it.
Margaret extends her own with a trembling hand. When Bemele speaks instead, his back still turned.
If you have to take someone's, take mine.
Yes, an extra light won't do us much good when we're standing this close together.
Margaret takes Bemele's lantern from him, guarded relief displayed on her features.
Thank you.
She hands the lantern to the guide, whose hand grips it tightly, knuckles growing
Stay
pale.
here. I can't throw it too far. The light will blow out before it reaches the Nyx.
He steps closer to the monster. Zubigid. His movements light and confident. As he nears, the prowler starts to back away. Is it only the approaching light that makes it retreating, or are they actually afraid of him? The guide is far enough away from us that the fog is partially obscuring him, hiding his movements. The voices from the lake grow louder and louder. Water suddenly begins to splash across the lake, in the distance and onto the edges of the bridge. They want him to mess up. Then suddenly, the guide takes multiple long and fast strides forward, throws the lantern and jumps back to regain the lost distance. There's a sharp hiss and then a deep splash, and the voices of the Nixie grow quieter. Not silent, but quieter. A sigh escapes me, and then the guide comes back to our
We
group.
should keep going, before it comes back.
I glance at Bemele and realize he too is looking relieved at the guide before us. And then I see it. The first prowler is still there. It's right there. Pull Bemele forward. I shift around, pulling Bemele behind me. The prowler lunges after him, barely missing Bemele, but striking my lantern instead. The fire goes out, and the two of us are plunged into an unearthly darkness. Ooh! Then there's a slick splash. I realize the Nyx has retreated into the water. Somehow, Bemele and I are still standing. We're still here.
Kika, thank you.
I can't respond. Something cold, wet, and slimy has grabbed my ankle. Uh-oh. I'm going in the water. Kick it off. I kick my leg out as fast as I can, and the Nyx slips. It can't pull with the momentum I've gained against it. Margaret rushes to my side, her lantern hanging out towards the Nyx. The light brushes its face. We see it for an instant, its eyes wide, and then it slides back into the smooth surface of the water. Bemele grabs Margaret and I both, helping us towards the center of the bridge and cussing under his breath.
I only looked away for 1 second.
It's fine, Bemele. We're all fine.
We're all fine.
Are you actually all right?
Margaret cocks her head down, examining my ankle, but there's nothing but a wet smudge
I
across
am
my trousers.
fine.
I say that, though I don't actually want to let go of Bemele. I need to, in order to relight our lantern, and provide us actual safety, but I feel such a strong desire not to be alone in this moment. I shake my head roughly and let go of him, relighting the lantern as fast as I'm able.
Thank you. Again. You saved my life. I won't let this happen again.
What, you won't let me save your life again?
Yes. Yes. It would be good for all of us to pay more attention.
Focused. Margaret nods slowly, solemnly. Suddenly, it seems like we're all on the same side. it isn't only Bemele and I. She is with us in more than simply presence. The guide's voice, as cold as that monster's grasp, ends my train
We
of
lost the
thought.
lantern I threw. And Nix grabbed it after the light went out.
Margaret makes a noise. I glance over, wondering whether she's upset. There's a small smile on her face instead.
It's better than them taking anything else.
That's a good point. A nervous laugh bubbles up out of me, and just as quickly stops. Bemele chuckles in response, and our collective tension eases up, the adrenaline draining from our bodies.
We need to keep walking.
The guide starts down the bridge again, and we join him. I try to clamp down on the relief, the ease that wants to flood my head. It's not over. The prowler is gone, sure, but so is Bemele's lantern.
You can stay near me, Bemele, since your lantern is lost.
I appreciate it.
Margaret goes on ahead of us. Bemele stays by my side, and as I keep at the end of the line. The breath of release for Margaret and Bemele is quickly swallowed by the somber atmosphere of Sinlos as well, replaced by the gravity of this near-death experience. Never mind celebrating his survival, something like that shouldn't have even happened in the first place. The memory of the prowlers reaching out towards us appears each time I close my eyes.
Why does it look like something's dripping down their faces?
The prowlers are on Margaret's mind too. Looking at her pained expression, it's as though the moment of relief never existed at all.
I'm not sure.
Me neither. Something's wrong with them, though. They live in water. Air shouldn't be good for the things, but they want to drown humans so much they're willing to drag themselves around on land? It's not right.
Of course it isn't. They are monsters. They likely do not even understand the concept of right
Well,
and wrong.
I don't disagree that there's something very wrong about them. I truly hope that's the last we'll see of the Prowlers.
Something comes to her mind, causing Margaret to end her part of the conversation early.
Since you two have to share a light, wouldn't it be safer to be in the middle?
Theoretically, sure, but we just give Bemele my light and you and me share a light in the middle. I think that's a much better idea. Margaret stops and waits for Bemele and I to reach
That
her
way,
position.
you'll catch the edges of my light and the guide's, and it won't be so dangerous if Bemele loses his position momentarily.
That's a very kind offer, Margaret.
That's a stupid offer. Bemele's surprise is so apparent, I want to cover his face with my hands to stop him from insulting her. She merely smirks. I think Margaret may be surprised with herself, too. Bemele returns to his usual surety.
As thoughtful as it is, I, at least, am fine with bringing up the rear. I'm used to keeping watch for monsters, and since there are two of us, I can pay attention to the back while Kika focuses ahead. It's not my light, though, so I shouldn't be the one to decide what she should do with it.
Margaret and Bemele turn to look at me in unison. Seems like it's my decision. Neither of them are wrong. As for me, my goal is to protect everyone. I can't very well do that with Margaret following along behind us. But being stuck in the middle of the group could also be dangerous, depending on what circumstances we come across. Getting pincered by the enemy would be an almost sure death, no matter how experienced Bemele and I are. I just don't know what to expect from this bridge, and that makes things so much more difficult. Current
So
format.
you're staying
we'll stand at the back.
behind?
Yep, we'll stand at the back.
Seems like it.
Yes, I think we'll be good here. But really, thank you. That was a very kind offer.
Well, alright.
Margaret respects our decision and trots ahead a bit to catch back up with the guide. He has paid no mind to the entire affair. Bemele is brooding.
So, I don't want to sound like a child, but how much longer until we arrive at the halfway point?
Margaret chuckles, reflecting the amusement that I don't want to vocalize.
We still have some ways to go.
Damn.
I suppress my laughter yet again at his pouting response. The gloom we've been under dissipates slightly, like light flickering through the fog.
The first trial tends to be the most difficult. I believe we will only react better from this point on.
I like the way you think.
As do I. Then a gleam enters Bemelay's eyes and he
I
grins.
think Kika deserves a round of applause. Her quick reflexes are owed the utmost
Don't
appreciation.
go clapping. Go attract him. He leans softly onto my shoulder, trying to get me to what?
It was indeed a sight. You're quite capable. Bemele was also a sight, but for very different reasons. The way he froze with his mouth all agape was a
Aw.
laugh in itself.
Don't pick on him. Bemelay shakes a fist at Margaret in mock anger, then shoots me an affectionate look.
You should know, she and I are usually on equal footing.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
The only reason you had footing at all is because she pulled you back.
Bemelay laughs self-consciously, scratching at his
That's
head.
very true. You can always count on Kika.
I keep my eyes steadily ahead, unsure of how I should respond. I'm pleased, almost grateful, to hear what they think of me. But I don't know what I could say that wouldn't seem pathetic. Instead, I contribute the best way I can. I keep focused on the path ahead of us. Without a response from me, the conversation quickly dies out. Still, it eases my heart to be on such friendly terms with my companions. After some time, I notice Margaret isn't keeping up with the guide as much as she was before. I realize it's because the guide has increased his pace. Margaret begins to jog in an effort to keep up with him, and Bemelay and I do the same. Despite this, the guide keeps getting further away. I told you he's trying to ditch us. We go faster and faster until suddenly we're full on sprinting across the slick wooden boards. Figures in the dark fog fly past us at a blur, and it occurs to me the branching paths in the bridge appear to be sinking. I try hard to swallow my rising panic. Oh yeah, because it's tidal, so the tide's going to come back in and all of our boardwalks go away, and the water people can get us. The guide shouts something, but it's drowned out by the frantic pounding of our footsteps. I'm trying to piece together what he said. Don't, stop, turn, when he takes a masterful sharp right down a different path using his own momentum and the sleek wood to slide into the new direction with no loss of speed. Margaret must not have worked out the warning either, as she is completely caught off guard by the guide's changing course. She runs straight ahead past the turn and continues down the path we've been following up until now. She clumsily begins to halt her momentum down the wrong bridge. Then I come upon the fork. Turn. I make a hard turn following the guide and leaving Margaret at the rear. I get the feeling we just killed Margaret. Bemelay's footsteps stay as loud as they were before. He's made the turn, as close behind me as ever. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Margaret turn around to try and come back to us, only to have the bridge in front of her fall away. I slow down for a breath, feeling the impulse to turn back but ignore it. There's no time. Margaret can make the jump, and then she'll rejoin us. Or will she? I keep my eyes glued to the guide's back, ears perked for Margaret's footsteps approaching behind us, and then I hear it. A scream. I whip around, sliding to a stop. Margaret is sinking. The bridge she's on is sinking into the water. She's disappearing. She didn't jump.
What are you doing?
Margaret's head shoots up, her face
Jump!
drained of all colour. She stumbles near the edge of the bridge, staring at the placid water of the lake. Even from a distance, I can see her shaking. I can't say whether it's from the bridge descent or her own fear. She barely seems to remain standing. I swallow painfully. Margaret bends and tries to jump. She curves in a small arc, achieving more height than she should, and lands directly in the lake with a muted splash. Bemelay starts beside me, but I grab his hand and pull. We start running, leaving Margaret flailing in the water behind us. We don't need to watch this. We both know exactly what's going to happen now. Margaret's anguished cries pierce the night, then the screaming stops. My legs grow weak. It isn't right, but I push myself to keep going. Achievement unlocked, inevitability. Bemelay curses between heavy breaths, calling those things every foul name in his large book. I try to focus on the pounding of my feet, but my brain won't cooperate. Instead, I imagine Margaret's terror as she's clawed to pieces by the Nixie. After everything, I didn't help her. We left her in the dark. As the night wears on, our strength rapidly fades. How much longer will this last? People have to rest sometime. Almost as if in response to my thought, the guide abruptly halts. I skid to a stop as well, sliding on the surface of the wood.
Why did we stop?
Bemelay's voice is tired, but his guard is up. The guide doesn't answer, just stares at something slightly out of view. I step up to join him, following his gaze further down the path. Oh, hello. It's a new person. There, curled up in a ball, illuminated by a lantern's light, cowers a person. His hands grip his head, and he rocks from side to side, mumbling incoherently.
It's a man.
It's a man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Where did you come from?
I just couldn't. Please. I'm sorry.
I'm struck with an array of questions. What's going on? Why would he wander out onto these bridges on his own? How did he make it this far by himself? Were there others with him? If that's somehow the case, I can't blame him for the state of shock he's in. The man stops mumbling. He glances above him, seemingly only just now having the strength to lift his head. His expression, the deepest sadness along with the clear markings of terror, are scrawled across his face. I stare at him in shock, not sure what to do.
Leave him.
It's a bit harsh. I snap my eyes away from the man, and instead, the guide's cool, implacable face.
No! We can't just leave him here! Without light, it's certain he'll die.
He won't make it regardless.
The guide turns to look at us, his eyes seeming to glow from the closeness of his lantern. For the first time, I feel uncomfortable in his presence.
Whoever shelters him will only risk dragging themselves down with him. Leave him.
Okay, so here's the thing. This game is going to come back in another stream because I want to go through and try and save everyone. But this first time, I am going to play sensibly. Me and Bemele are going to do whatever we need to do to get across this lake, which means taking that sharp turn and leaving Margaret behind. It means leaving this guy behind. I'm trying to think of some kind of compromise when the guide speaks again, his voice cutting.
If the man comes, then whoever is shielding him will have to remain at a distance from the rest of the group. Far enough that you can't see me, just my light. That is how you will travel across the bridges.
Nope.
I didn't
We're leaving
agree
him.
to lead this man, and I won't. If you ask me to, I will leave you all behind.
Adrenaline surges through my veins and I tense up. It's a painful reminder that the guide isn't here to save our lives, but merely to show us the way. We're on our own. Bemele and I frantically share more looks between each other, trying to communicate without words. Neither of us have a desire to speak and be the first to make a choice. The man is standing now, though still hunched with his arms wrapped around himself, as if expecting a blow. He stares at the ground rather than at us. Because of this, I'm having trouble reading of his face. What exactly happened to him?
Are you well, stranger? Do you know where you are and why you're here?
He glances up, not at me, but towards me, his eyes resting somewhere near my collarbone.
I'm fine. You all can go on your way. Forget you even saw me here.
That's absurd. You have no way to defend yourself. We can't leave you.
Yes, I'm sure in your eyes I might not seem like much, but that's not exactly a fair shake. Maybe in a perfect world, every man would be as large as you. But that's not how things always go. It doesn't mean I'm defenseless.
The man's response is meandering. The words themselves seem to be in good jest, but he's still barely looking at us, fidgeting with his hands. Bemele frowns, unimpressed.
It was a joke.
He smiles hesitantly, making eye contact with each of us for the first
What
time.
part of it was supposed to be the joke? Do you even realize what is happening in this moment?
Never mind. Forget that too. Point is, I'm alright.
You have found yourself out alone and unlit on Sinlos.
Exactly. Something must be wrong with you.
No, he said he's alright.
Oh,
Let's
no.
go.
Sounds like you've been talking with my father.
He lets out a weak little laugh, coupled with an eyebrow raise, voice trembling. No one really knows what to make of this. Leave him behind. I don't like him. The man gives a small wave and begins down the path we came. Bemele huffs, tossing his
That's
hands
not
in
even the
air.
right way.
It is for me.
Oh? You must have come quite a ways if it was the other shore you started on.
The man's smiles grow.
Good. That's not so bad.
There's no response to this remark. unsure of what could be said.
I still think he should come with us. A person needs a light, and the guide
going the other
himself
way,
said he
Bemele.
won't be able to manage on his
He
own.
can't come with us. He's gone
Sticking
the other
with
way.
us is his best option.
Nope. You're wrong. I look over the man's body, noting the scrawniness of his limbs. Scrawny, but not necessarily lacking in muscle. The bravado he was showing as he tried to leave us has faded yet again. He's now standing quietly, looking at us as if he's watching a play. Interest, but no true connection to the events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering? It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Bemele's hands turn into fists. He looks away, but doesn't say anything. For a moment, no one does. I feel a cold sweat on my brow, as what I feared comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can he not just leave us to make our own decisions?
You. Don't worry about me. I'll be on my way now.
The man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and he starts to shuffle back down the way we came, arms still clenched around himself. I know the guide wants to act as though there's no option. However, I could stay back with him. It'll put Bemele and myself at a significantly more risk. But at least this man will stand a chance. Do nothing. I can't risk it. We are getting across this lake. I'll come back and play it all again and do different choices, but for right now, we are getting across the lake. Bemele stares at the man as he leaves. We both watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. We had to let him go. We've already suffered the loss of one of our own. The space the man vanished into is dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him, not even his footsteps. The guide was right. There are no other options. Well, that is what I have to believe. We need to get through this somehow, and being weighed down with guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up with him. We walk onwards in silence. Our party hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him. There's a sense of loss all the same. No one even attempts mirth. Though Bemele constantly looks to want to reach out towards my empty hand, always thinking better of it before he doing so. I keep thinking I should have done more. Should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind, so it was less dangerous to keep the man around. Something, anything. But I have to let this go. I'm not going to forget that man. I'll never forget him. But we still need to get through this. I curl my hands into fists, hoping it'll strengthen my resolve, and I push forwards. We turn down a different path and the guide stops. Hello. Ahead of us stands a group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their heads in unison, as if they knew where we were coming. I inhale. The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We cannot lose another lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with a free hand.
What are you planning?
Bemele's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch, then opens the latch on his lantern.
Are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire. And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
He says it with such detached certainty. It's as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern down until it's lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hands is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back and up. The glass on the lantern snaps
Don't get
closed.
left behind.
He takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. The prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands, and as soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks in. Oh, you can hear the crackling. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows despite the heavy dampness from the lake. These bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course, that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heels, almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into each other, maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. I was mid-stride when I put my foot down. The bridge isn't where it was. It lurches to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Bemele and I managed to keep our ground, as did the guide. He presses on without even bothering to see if we're able to follow. Bemele growls in frustration as we push to keep up with the guide's pace. As our storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to rise into view just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the craggy forms of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety at long last, in sight, new energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once the bridge ends, and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth, solid earth, a haven from the water. I catch my breath, while still moving even further away from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. When night falls once more, we have to do it all again. A heavy arm falls across my shoulders, and I straighten to see Bemele's smiling wearily
Good
at me.
work out there.
It's not like the usual commendation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. With a sigh, he leans his head to one side, having it rest slightly against mine. Usually Bemele's comfort and good nature gives me at least the urge to smile, but right now it just feels like a hollow victory. Despite still having the comfort of one another, we were incapable of doing any true good. We were only just able to survive ourselves. A quiet moment passes between us. And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that he steps on the soft sand and nearly silent, and his dusky clothes blend with the thinning of the night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Bum bum bum. Bemele levels an empty look towards the guide.
Is there something we should do?
Come. The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far away from the water. Trees partially obscure our location, and there's enough room to watch the coast in case prowlers start to emerge. Essentially, it's a place where an ambush
If any of you
hard.
see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns in a different direction. As the sky continues to fade from pale purple to muted blue, the water stays silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It's a miracle. Suddenly, my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. The first pricks of light appear over the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through the darkness. Return to the main menu. Why would I want to return to the main menu? Is that so I can go back and redo the first part? Like this is the halfway point? Let's go no. Let's continue with this. A sound catches my attention and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening the latch on his lantern again. He gently, almost respectively, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixie. It is over for today.
I'm almost unable to keep the tears of relief from pouring out at those words. We made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, an understanding passing between us. When we find our own space as comfortable as we can get and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop up my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I'm eager to get to my feet. I check my surroundings. The harsh, craggy earth of the island is interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bemele is still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everyone. It's likely he left us hours ago. There is a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Bemele wakes suddenly, rising with alarm. My mouth opens, then shuts, and after a moment of fumbling, a word finally
Hello.
escapes. Hello. Bemele gives a gentle smile and makes his way over to me.
Morning.
A pocket of quiet descends over us. Bemele sighs. The atmosphere is weighing on him already.
We should eat something soon.
Yes.
A distinct rustling of the leaves around catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Bemele glares at him as he makes
The
his way
Nixie
over.
will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious.
You remain cautious. I'm Batman. Daytime Batman.
Before the sun
business
sets,
suit.
I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why do you do this?
I sharply turn towards Bemele as he snarls and confronts
If you had
the
just
guide.
let him follow behind us, if you had been there before, none of this would have happened. They didn't have to die.
The guide looks away, seemingly unaffected.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
Despite Bemele's severe words, the guide apparently considers his piece here finished. He turns towards a forested area from
Wait.
which he came. Bemele calls out to the guide, reaching towards him. Before he can make contact, I quickly place my hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to his side, though I can still feel the wrath emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Bemele begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bemele, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
And we've done so well with him?
Yeah, we wouldn't have got across that bridge without him. I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge... Yeah, you see? We wouldn't even know which bridge to take without the guide. Bemele knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back.
We can't afford to lose our way.
The anger etched into his expression fades into sadness.
I can't stay here right now.
Quietly, I speak. I need to be alone. Bemele, wait. I'm going to speak with the guide. I don't want to be alone. I'm going to go with Bemele. I speak too softly for Bemele to hear. Lingering for only a moment, I start to follow the trail Bemele took. It doesn't take him long to notice I'm there, and he slows his pace so that I can easily catch up. We fall into step for a short while, neither of us speaking. Eventually we come to a thick stand of trees and wordlessly weave our way through the branches. Once we're hidden by the foliage, Bemele leans against a tree trunk, head hung low. Negativity radiates off of him, but I don't know what I should say. Fortunately, he breaks the silence.
I apologize for back there.
I nod firmly. His reply isn't unexpected. For as long as I've known Bemele, he has had a tendency to let his temper flare, then regret it later, after processing his thoughts.
I know that dealing with these sorts of situations calmly is part of the job, but I cannot tell myself everything is fine or that none of it matters. Sure, I can feel something without it being anger, but I've not figured that out either.
Rather than speak, I try to listen as supportively as I can while Bemele continues to argue with himself. He sighs, whilst pensively rubbing the bridges of his nose.
Am I simply being foolish? Would it really have been so harmful to try and help someone else instead of focusing solely on oneself? It looks to me like we're telling ourselves these lines to avoid responsibility.
I don't know. It's possible you helping would have worked better. It's also possible it would have been worse.
Focus on the mission. Just get us across the bridge to begin with. Bemele stares across the empty waters of the Sinlos. What's going on? There we go.
I want it to be clear that I have not forgotten that those people across this lake are depending upon us. Not for a moment. But would they want us to be so focused on them that we should turn a blind eye to others right in front of us?
Probably not.
Even if they would, does that matter? We are more than weapons. We are people. Do we have to cast that aside, turn away from our fellow humans, just to achieve a so-called greater good?
Hey, Evil Hubs, how are ya? Nice to see you. This game is Lake of Voices? Yeah, Lake of Voices. It's a free indie horror game that I found on Steam. I wasn't sure how long it was going to be. I jumped in to play it and have fallen in severe like with it. The art style is really cool. The voice acting is brilliant. And there seems to be quite a lot of different stories and paths to go down with the narrative. So this time we're just doing a kind of a first playthrough, and then probably in another stream a little later down, I'll come back and try some of the other stuff, see where we can go.
It is not as though this village is a haven of saints. They are only as worthwhile as we are, and these people on the bridges with us, aren't they?
I don't know.
I can feel the weight of his words settle upon me. I've had similar thoughts and have questioned what is the correct choice. But unlike Bemele, I've always been silent. I clench my fist tight to try and stop from saying something rash. Bemele closes his eyes tight and rubs his face again. It is clear this hasn't been enough to give him much peace. Eventually his eyes reopen and look directly into mine.
What do you think about all this, Kika? Please, be honest with me. I want to hear it.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting game. The story's pretty cool. I'll briefly explain it. We're getting across the lake. There's all these monsters that live in the lake. We've already lost 2 strangers that we theoretically could have saved to the monsters that live in the lake. Suddenly my eyes are hot. My vision blurs slightly from tears as I desperately am trying to hold back.
I don't know. That is the truth.
My words are soft. Whether he heard or not, the look on my face is enough to garner attention. His eyebrows shoot up in surprise. He walks over to me, slowly, concerned.
Kika, what is troubling you?
I don't have the answers to what you were wondering. Who are we meant to protect? Everyone we can? Whoever we're told to serve and no one else? Just ourselves? Should we only try to protect others when the risk is minimal? I have no idea what the right option is.
Bemele's confusion only mounts with my words.
I am sorry for disappointing you.
No, you haven't disappointed me in any way. I never should have expected someone else to give me answers to those kinds of questions. It is only... I did not think that...
He does not finish his thought, but I know what he meant to say.
You did not think I was concerned with these issues?
He smiles awkwardly over being caught.
Yes. You never seemed to be bothered by anything we experienced before now.
With his words, my carefully held resolve crumbles. In an instant, my cheeks are wet with hot fluid cooling in the chill air as it slips down my face.
I've always cared. I've always been afraid and confused, but I have kept up a...
I stop and gasp for air, my throat almost as tight as when we were running on the bridges.
a farce of strength in order to get by.
I breathe deeply with relief, terrified and lightheaded from my confession. Bemele's voice is as delicate as
I
flower
had
petals.
no idea. How could I not have noticed?
Because you are a guy. And blind to such things.
Because I did whatever I could to make sure no one did. I have never wished to appear weak in front of others. But the truth is, I barely get through each day. I often feel overwhelmed with sadness at all that we have experienced.
Bemele gently places his hand on my shoulders, as I tried not to sob wildly.
Kika, I truly apologize for all the thoughtless things I have said to you.
I shake my head, sniffling.
There is no need for you to apologize.
He smiles, the warmth almost enough to make me forget
I
the
beg
damn...
to differ. I have failed to treat you right.
You have always been respectful.
A person needs more than respect from their comrades. They also need support. I have never given you that kind of consideration because I believed someone like you did not need it.
The same could be said for me.
Nonsense. You have listened to my rambling on more occasions than I can remember. though I admit my memories may not be there due to being drunk many of those times.
The fact that it has voice acting in it, when I picked this game, I saw that it was a narrative-based game. I thought, oh yeah, I get to do some voice acting, because I do enjoy giving the characters voices. Then I found out it has voice acting in it, which is great. From a gameplay point of view, having decent voice acting is brilliant, considering it's an indie game. Good on them. But it does mean that while they're talking to themselves, I kind of sit here awkwardly. Until this bit comes up, the inner monologue of me. Bemele laughs at himself while glancing in my direction to encourage me to do the same. His comforting words make me smile, and I feel my tears finally cease to fall. Then I will continue to support you, still it is not necessary. I'll continue to support you. He grins wider than he has since we begun this horrible journey.
You have my thanks.
And you have mine.
And my axe. Abruptly, his expression becomes serious once more.
I will come to answer these questions someday. But no matter what I decide, I will still put trust in your judgment.
I fear I may not live up to the belief he seems to have in me, but I nod firmly. He returns my nod.
Perhaps we should go check how everything is on the island.
That sounds like an excellent idea. And I will accompany you, of course.
Of course.
Glad to hear it.
Together, we walk back to the interior of the island. Both our moods lift as we stay side by side. Gotta drink lots of water when you do this much talking. Bemele and I head through the wooded part of the island. There isn't anything that could be called a path, but we manage to pick our way through the bushes quite well. Through a thinner stand of trees, we briefly catch sight of the guide standing on one of the beaches. He seems fine, but even though I'm sure he turned his head towards me, he makes no show of acknowledging us. It takes less time than I would have hoped for us to see all there is on this isolated place. Now we will have to spend time simply waiting, a far more unpleasant task. We seat ourselves underneath a large tree at the meeting point. There is no sign of the sun setting, and I find myself becoming increasingly restless. I release a breath. I've yet to shake the dark and troubling thoughts coursing through my mind. A pat on my back grants me a moment's reprieve. It truly is just the two of us. Deep sorrow stirs inside me at that thought. However, having Bemele here with me at least gives some comfort. So when in the first part, or in the menu screen, it says that pretty much whoever survives that first night changes which path the story goes down. Because I left Margaret to die and we didn't rescue the stranger, it's just the two of us. But theoretically, if I get it right, there is a way to get all four of us plus the guide to the island. But I'm just playing it safe, making sure I get across. Me before everyone. I lean against his shoulder, and he doesn't move to stop me. We sit together quietly as we wait for the sun to descend from the sky. Hey, the guide's back. The sky turns orange as sunset comes upon us. As the color seems to drain from the world being consumed by the fog, the guide makes his appearance.
It's almost time.
I nod and feel myself grow tense. We truly are about to return to those bridges. All of us wait in an uncomfortable silence until night falls. Night settles like a shroud over the land, every inch of the world now covered in unrelenting darkness. Suddenly there's a gurgling. The water parts as the bridges of Sinlos rise, powered by some unnatural force, creaking like they might fall apart. I feel an inexplicable pounding like a hammer in the back of my head, beating faster and heavier than my own heart. I clench my teeth to stop it from churning my stomach.
We must go now.
The guide doesn't wait for any replies, briskly starting in the direction of the shore. Bemele and I match his pace. I can feel the air weighing on us, a sensation that slows our steps despite being rested. Something hovers in my mind, the mirrored memory of the beginning of last night's journey. 1 day ago feels almost like a lifetime. The thick inky water sloshes reluctantly off the boards, bleeding back into the lake, until finally it stills. A shudder crawls across my body as I place my foot on the boards, but I quickly shake it off. I have no other option. We have to go through this again. All tense as day-old corpses, we walk... Bad foreshadowing. Stop talking about dead people. We walk over the bridges in silence. The only sound that accompanies us is the thick lapping of the water at the bridge. Bemele stays close by my side with a sour expression on his face. He, evidently, has little interest in masking his disgust. He murmurs something beneath his breath, but it's inaudible. I decide not to ask about it either. It wasn't meant for me to hear. It feels as though barely any time has passed when it's explained that half the night has crept by. We encountered a few sunken bridges which forced us to reroute, while other paths were rotten enough to make us stagger our steps. However, the biggest threat of all is eerily absent, the prowlers. I haven't seen more than shadowy glimpses of them down other paths, and even though they may have simply been tricks in the fog. I feel I may be even more on edge tonight than the last. Judging by Bemele's tenseness, he isn't set at ease by their lack of presence either.
Why?
I whisper the question softly, almost silently as I scan left and right across the impossibly empty bridges for any sign of movement. I ponder whether they're still weary from the consuming blaze that lit up the night yesterday, or if there are less dragging themselves across the bridges than usual, because many have already gotten what they wanted. My skin crawls with the touch of icy fingers at the thought, and I can't control the sharp shiver that travels down my spine. Bemele catches my concern and brings himself closer to my ear.
This isn't right. It shouldn't be nearly this easy to cross. Not after what we went through the other night.
Could they be planning something?
Bemele shakes his head. He speaks with suspicion in his voice as he peers at the guide ahead.
I don't know.
As time passes by, we continue to see nothing but more bridges and fog. Beside me, Bemele is becoming more and more agitated the longer we go without disruption. I can read Bemele well enough to know that his anger is still directed at the guide rather than the bridges themselves. It was my hope that he would be able to contain his feelings towards our lead until we had put this maze behind us. That is becoming unlikely. I resolve to step in before he grows too heated and there is yet another hazardous argument.
Your concentration is clouded, Bemele. What is troubling you?
Surely you're already aware. It's him.
Bemele glowers hatefully at the guide, making me talk before I swallow. I purse my lips for a moment before continuing resigned.
I do know that. However, you need to stop allowing that to consume you, or else you could get hurt. Or even...
Bemele releases an exasperated sigh while crossly folding
That
his
is
arms.
impossible. I can't stop myself from thinking about it. Everything makes so much sense now.
What do you mean by that?
Recall yesterday. I asked him why he would lead others at all if he was heartlessly going to leave them behind. What if this is the reason? Before, we could scarcely escape these monsters, and now I can't even hear a whisper of one. What if they're already satisfied with what they've taken?
My eyes widen and I stifle a gasp. The situation at hand, giving both of us reason to think on that possibility, is absolutely unsettling, but his conclusion is even worse still. The notion of the guide allowing others to die unnecessarily on purpose to make it less dangerous for the remaining few. That is not something I was prepared for.
Even back when we started, the first time we met the guide, he mentioned that at least one of us would die before the journey was finished. Didn't that exchange seem strange to you? He said it as though it was a price to pay for coming with him. The guide is free to do as he pleases. He can and will threaten to leave the entire group behind at so much as a hint of resistance. Nothing is stopping him. He knew this was going to happen. He had to know.
I take a few moments to breathe. Despite the danger, I only barely resist shutting my eyes
We need
against
to make
the
it to
world.
the other side. We must keep moving forward and survive. The guide is our only way across.
My usual reply to Bemele's worries do not make an impression. His eyes are not swayed. He continues to stare into me.
I am saying he cannot be trusted with our lives at this very moment. I need an answer to that, Kika. What do you really think?
Alright, this might be a question time. What do we really think? It's timed. I do not agree. We can discuss at the end. Say nothing. We can discuss at the end. Coming to any decision on the matter is impossible right now. There's too much danger and too many unknowns to account for to reach any sort of conclusion. I have no choice but to shut the conversation down. I can only hope Bemele will take it seriously.
When everything is through, then we may talk about it. End of discussion.
Bemele doesn't battle me further on the issue. His face no longer retains any anger, only sorrow. He returns his gaze straight ahead. Oh. Hope I didn't just ruin things with Bemele. Our progress continues steadily, and we still encounter no significant difficulties.
How much longer until we reach the other side? We've traveled quite a ways.
Bemele's quiet-breaking question doesn't sound particularly enthused.
It should only be another couple of hours.
Huh.
Bemele is unconvinced. It is not only I who notices. The guide suddenly stops. Eerily, he turns his head to the side and looks back at us.
Is there a problem with that?
Is there?
We've progressed through the bridges at a much quicker clip this time. Bemele's question was not idle curiosity. He was confirming that fact for himself. I should have known. The guide looks slightly irritated over the attitude Bemele is
If you
taking.
have something to say, you should say it. Unless you're afraid that I'm going to leave you behind.
I am afraid you're going to leave me behind. You keep leaving people behind. His statement lands heavily on us. Did he listen to our conversation? There was no sound to cover our voices. However, I had assumed we were far enough away from the guide to keep our words to ourselves. He stares with such an icy expression I nearly freeze in place. Bemele, on the other hand, heats up and grows more hostile. He leaves my side to rush into the guide's flickering light.
Don't.
This is going much too far. I urge him to come back. He ignores me and takes a stand facing the guide.
Am I right? Are you going to leave us behind after what I've done?
The guide isn't bothered at all by Bemele entering his space. He gives a pretty level answer.
No.
Well, that's grand. In that case, I'd like to know if I'm on the right track about something else. Are the monsters missing because they've already eaten? Or is there some other reason why they've all mysteriously vanished?
The guide pauses for a moment. His eyes close and he becomes completely still.
It's possible.
Bemele glares at the guide over the admittance. It's as though he heard nothing after the first line the guard spoke. The guide is unfazed.
If you enter these bridges, all you should expect is death. That is no secret. You need to stop putting so much energy into finding meaning, or else you will end up like the others.
Bemele ends up speechless, caught off guard by the guide openly discussing his accusation. The guide continues at Bemele's silence, annoyance leaking into his voice.
You think that the results would have been different if only I had said more or did something differently. But that is not true. The conclusion would be exactly the same. If Lou hadn't died when he did, he would have been lost at some other point during the trip.
Lou? You knew the stranger?
Lou?
You knew him and you didn't save him? We never got his name, it was just question marks when we found him. And the guide wouldn't let us save him.
Yes, Lou was his name. I had spoken with him in the past. He wanted to cross the bridges. I had deemed him unfit. He was far too desperate and unprepared. There's no helping someone like that.
The guide sounds even more agitated as he elaborates. Bemele seems to be finished with being surprised. His anger reignites.
If that's all well and true, why haven't you died yet? How is it that you've been able to cross these horrendous bridges over and over again without suffering the same consequences as everyone else?
Because I'm Batman. The guide's face twists into a vicious snarl as he shouts,
I have died! I have no life to give! Everything I am, everything I could have been, was surrendered to this lake. That is the only reason why I'm able to stand before you now. I can show you the way, and I can give you advice on how to survive the perils you will face. That is all I'm able to offer.
I like my option better.
Is that
You
not
are
enough
Batman.
for you? What else do you want from me? Kindness? Sympathy? It's been far too many years since I was capable of giving anything like that.
He finally stops to catch his breath, though the emotion in his eyes still shines intently. There is no response from either of us. An agonizing silence permeates the air. No one dares even to move. The tension is cut as the board beneath me starts to creak. My eyes dart down, the bridge is sinking rapidly. Instinctively, I jump backwards, but the new section of bridge groans horribly as it too starts to tilt into the water. They keep getting further and further away. With each disappearing platform I move off.
Kika!
I look up at Bemele's call. My chest tightens when I see him. When I see him and the guide on what has become the other side of a small chasm, I leap back just in time as the bridge under me snaps like a twig. Glancing over again, they keep getting farther and farther away with each disappearing platform I move off of. Return to the main menu. Alright, so we're back at a... So that's the part 2 of the story done. Have a sip of water, and then we'll press on. So yeah, originally, my idea for this stream... Oh, feel free to, if you could give the stream a like and give it a share if you want. Would really help me out. My idea for this stream was going to be... I've got 3 indie horror games off of Steam, and I was going to play all of them. But this game is... the first game we played, Glitch, I played for about 20 minutes and then decided it was just too broken to play. So we jumped into this one. I had no idea if it was going to be any good, but I'm really enjoying this. So this is just going to probably be the rest of the stream now. I might bring the other indie horror game into a later stream, but this is going to become a series. So we'll play through a little bit longer tonight, and then I'll definitely come back and either finish off this storyline if we don't finish it tonight. And if we do finish the main storyline, then the next stream will be going through making different decisions. Because this game is pretty damn cool. Alright. Dry off that sweat from my ears. Alright, let's go. Continue back in. Return to the main menu? No. We are moving ahead. Dread creeps up my neck as I nearly lose footing once I've realized what's happening. Desperately stumbling backwards, I finally manage to regain my balance. I use this to leap far enough back that the bridge I land on doesn't immediately start to fall apart under my weight. In another 3 swift steps, I'm finally on sturdy wood. The bridges reluctantly stops shifting and settle. The only trace left of what was once a huge section of bridge is a few splintered boards floating across the murky water. The lake consumed it. Somehow I'm not surprised. Regaining my bearings, I face what has become of my circumstances. I am now separated from Bemele and the guide by a far wider gorge than anyone could leap. My throat goes bone dry as I teeter at the end of the bridge, mind wildly scrambling for a solution that doesn't come. I lock onto Bemele's face. He is completely aghast, darting from one side of the bridge to the other like a panicked animal. There's no mistaking that he's desperate to help me in some way. However, there's also no mistaking that there aren't any options available to him. He turns to the guide with pleading eyes, all his earlier hostility sunken with the bridges. I'm too far off to grasp what Bemele is asking, but I get the impression he is seeing if there's another way. The guide turns to me. He's completely cooled down from our earlier interaction, back into the same placid expression. He focuses back on Bemele, who has now gripped him by the cloak. The guide says one word. Judging from the look of pure terror on Bemele's face, I can only assume it was no. There's no way back to them. The guide frees himself from Bemele's grasp and continues speaking. Bemele still seems horribly shaken at his words. I can barely see them anymore, but I think he's quivering. As I watch the two discuss my fate, unable to say anything, fear starts to crawl over me. My arms run cool to cold to freezing. It's not long before the rest of my body follows. I notice Bemele cover his face with his still shuddering hand. The guide's voice echoes loudly across the water, separating me from them.
Go back and take the next bridge you come across that goes west. There may be enough time for you to find your own way.
I blink, taken aback for a moment, before I quickly regain my composure. That's right, this isn't over. I still have my lantern with me. The prowlers are less active, and if the guide says it's possible, It could be true. I nod solemnly at his words
I'll
and yell
meet
back.
you there. Don't wait for me.
He bows his head and starts to slowly back away from the edge. Bemele pulls his head from his hands to look at me. Even across the water, I can tell that he's crying. I detest the idea of having to part ways with Bemele. However, I know there's no other way. I smile forlornly at him as the wind whips against my back.
You need
I
to
speak
go.
softly. There's no way he could have heard me, yet I'm confident that the sentiment got across. I spin on my heel and run back the way we came, searching for the bridge the guide said to take. I can only hope that we all safely reunite before this night ends. I spare a brief glance behind me, however there's not a trace of them and even the dead end I was stranded at. With a painful contracting of my heart, I realize that I am now truly alone. Quickly I shake off the thought and focus my attention to what's in front of me. The first branching of the path comes into reach. I skid into a full stop in front of it. The path west is as dark and desolate as every other bridge. It's impossible to see what's down the twisting way. Whoa, I whisper in the ears. The previous conversation comes floating back to me. Now that I'm here and I must face that concern, is the guide reliable? Can he be trusted? I had to leave so they could go on without being weighed down. That I don't regret. However, I can't help but wonder if the guide couldn't give me a proper suggestion because of the sinking bridges. A mistake could have been made. It is also possible he knowingly gave a false hope to keep the situation calm, or perhaps he intentionally set me down the wrong path because it would make it easier for them if I did not make it. I look between the pathways. Based on my direction, it seems as though other options could potentially connect me with them before the west one does. Yet I cannot possibly know until I move forward. I need to make a decision. Follow the guide. I have no real reason to believe the guide's out to get me, so I'm going to follow the guide this time. No, I can't allow doubt to take control. We've known from the beginning that there is only one path that has led travelers to safety. His. I will take the guide on his word. Without wasting an additional moment, I make my way across the western bridge. I walk at a moderately brisk pace, not wanting to risk tripping or running out of energy in any moment where I need it. If the eeriness of the lake was disconcerting before, now it's overwhelming. The blizzard-like fog drifting over the waters limits my vision to the span of my arms. The utter silence was a comfort, despite how otherworldly it felt, but the whispering of the lake has started to stir now. I gulp despite myself. They've noticed me. As their chattering grows, I consider briefly if the others hear them as well, or if they have come out specifically because I'm on my own. I straighten my back and walk more surely. I cannot let them believe I am an easy target. I even consider keeping my sword in hand, but it doesn't seem entirely likely they would realize that this is something that could hurt them. To keep my mind from wandering into dark places, I count my steps, like we used to in training. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can only count to 4. Despite my best efforts, things are starting to get to me. My worries wash over me, causing painful twinges underneath my clothes that make me jerk and twitch like a fly-bitten horse. The whispering in human voices, the feeling of vulnerability, the horrible thought of being hopelessly lost, all melded together is consuming me. My pace breaks from the steady rhythm of my counting set. It quickens more as I start to succumb to fear. My brisk steps turn into long, frantic strides. Something in me whispers, "Faster, go faster, don't let them catch you." And I listen. I break into a run, like moving on landmines, flashes of fear exploding in my mind and drive my feet harder and faster, stronger along the path. Until suddenly, my sense of reason returns and I stop dead. My chest rises and falls with deep heaving breaths as I try to calm myself down. The monsters erupt into an inharmonious chorus of what sounds to be wicked laughs. I fight the urge to shout back at the creatures. This feels like a nightmare I will never wake up from. I take another breath and resume my measured progress. Even after the first crossroad, I continue with the guide's simple direction, keeping west, every chance I get. I have no other hints for this labyrinth. It's difficult to tell how much time has passed. It must be at least an hour, judging by how much energy I've expended. That'd be great. Imagine knowing what the time is by how tired you're getting. Well, that would be an internal body clock. Never mind. It's difficult to tell how much time has passed. Yeah, we done that one. Since I recomposed myself, I have not stopped walking for a second, despite how much time has worn on. The route still feels like an endless abyss. Then I hear a noise, which causes a shuddering chill to creep down my spine, an uneven clicking, followed by a squelching sound. It's a prowler. I immediately turn to look behind me. There's nothing. I breathe out, relieved. It's in front of you! Nope. My ears search for the source of the noise. But with all the babble the Nixie are making, the direction is clouded. I strain my ears. That's it. The noise is drifting so slowly from one of the connecting paths up ahead. I can faintly tell the noise is drawing nearer. The prowler has not arrived yet, but soon its path will intersect with my own. I will not wait for it to reveal itself, leaving me with two options. I can run past the bridge connection to get ahead of it, or I can turn back and find a new path to take. Go past it. I have faith that following the same path I've been is for the best. I steel myself and build up speed. I get closer and closer to the branch with the lurking threat, and I pick up my pace so that I'm sprinting. I hear a gurgling hiss as I pass through the crossroad. It must have been close enough to be pained by the light. I barely made it. However, I didn't hear any splash, so it's still nearby. I look behind me to see if it's decided to come no further. Horrified, I realize that it's pointedly following me. It is no longer mindlessly dragging itself through the darkness. I have now become a target. Its limbs bend wildly and unnaturally. It looks as though it's only barely keeping itself upright as its torso wobbles on its hips. That is not stopping it from giving chase, however. I focus my view back ahead and continue to run. My breathing rapidly becomes ragged. I can still hear the squishing footsteps of the prowler behind me as it lunges its body forwards in that unnatural gait. Without warning, the bridge lurches to one side. So this is me. This is Kiko. Kika? Catching me completely off guard, I lose my footing and slam onto the damp surface of the bridge. My light falls with me, painfully snuffing out. Splashes and excited stirring of many voices come from the lake. How? Why? Is it rotting? Or did they push out the support beams? I'm left with no time to ponder the mystery as the monster draws near. I scramble back to my feet as it closes in. Grabbing my dark lantern, I resume running to put some distance between us again. I open the latch on the lantern and pull out a match. I'll have to slow down, at least briefly, to properly light the flame without it blowing out. With death still on my heels, I must not let one precious moment be wasted. I set on my plan, and with everything in hand, I begin to decrease my pace. Oh, that was a speed thing that I almost missed. Concentrate, man, concentrate. Moving as fast as I am capable, I place a lit match inside the lantern. The oil catches fire and the flame grows. I can hear the awful footsteps behind me begin to peter out. I steal a glance behind me. It has truly stopped. The return of the light seems to catch it off guard, and thankfully it declines coming closer. Run. After a moment's reprieve, I breathe. I push forward once more. Fighting isn't an option. I need to get away from that monster. I'm not able to run fast enough, however. I let out a loud scream. Ah! I died! I let out a loud scream as the prowler latches onto my body from behind. I am thrown onto the ground again. The shock is great and the lantern slips from my hand, skidding across the bridge and out of reach. Because it came in contact with the light, the prowler drops itself back into the depths without attacking me again. There's no time to feel relieved. Arms of other Nixie emerge from the water and reach up the side of the bridge, scrambling the boards as they try to get to me. I try to climb to my feet, but one of the creatures takes hold of me before I can properly stand. I am dragged back to the ground, my jaw smacking hard against the bridge as the Nixie blindly pulls me towards the edge. Other slimy clawed hands grab onto me and I jam my nails hard into any crevice in the bridge. I kick frantically at their silhouettes, but they keep pulling me closer to the edge. I curl my fingers around the uneven wood tighter. Despite all my efforts, there's no support. My bloody, splintered fingers come loose. Water engulfs my vision, heavy and cold, so thick I can't even hear my own thrashing. I try to grab my sword, try to fight back, but I can't even make it can't even get it out of the hill. And the resistance against me is all-encompassing. Something grabs my arm, and then my waist. I get pulled from side to side or further down, first one way, then the other. The water feels like a solid substance, and being dragged against it like this, I'm being pressed through something. My vision grows darker and darker. I can't tell whether I'm going lower or whether I'm losing consciousness. My arms flail to bring me closer to wherever the surface is, but nothing is working. Complete darkness engulfs me. I died! Was everything I've done worth it? I must believe that it was. Lake of Voices. I panicked. I didn't keep my cool, and my dude drowned. And at no point did I save. Oops. History. So this is all the art history. Well, there you go. Whoops. Ha! I meant to hit main menu, but accidentally hit quit. Alrighty. Let's chuck it to face cam for a second. And boom. There we go. Alright. So, that was our first little look at Lake of Voices. I am definitely going to come back and play this again in the next stream. I'm going to have to play through all of it again because I didn't save. But I'm going to play through all of it again before the next stream and save when we get up to that decision. So in the next one, we'll finish off that playthrough that we were doing, the first look playthrough. And then we'll go back and we'll play with all the trying to rescue everyone else and all the other decisions. But for right now, I'm going to leave this stream here. Thank you for coming and hanging out. If you did enjoy the stream, give it a thumbs up. If you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. That way you'll know when I stream again. And we can watch me die again as we try and get through the Lake of Voices. But for right now, thank you so much for hanging out. Have a good day. Have a good life. And I'll catch you all down the road.